So this is my third attempt to make this video. The first two were unsuccessful, and I like to wonder whether I'm supposed to give something up when I'm reaching an obstacle or push through, and then be aware of what my motivations are for doing it. The irony in this situation is that what I'm talking about is based on Ken Wilber integral theory, and that group is a particularly argumentative and stubborn and intellectual lot. And when I have ventured forth with alternative or expandative theories, I often encounter resistance. If you've never heard of Ken Wilber integral, that's fine. This won't affect anything. You'll just have a few references you may not get. And if you are familiar, I just ask you to be open-minded. So this is an alternate. Yeah. What? No? Can I keep going, or can I keep working? Jen? Can I keep working? Yes? Can I keep working? So as you can see, part of the challenge for me is I don't have a lot of time as a family member to put forth these theories. And I used to spend a lot of time with the integral group in New York, and I got a lot out of it, but it was a little bit intellectual. Now I don't have as much time, so my theories have to be a lot leaner, easier to deliver, and not get too wrapped up in the ego or the mind. And actually, because I'm a householder, to convey things from a place of service and workability as opposed to ego enhancement. One of the things I do want to say is that if you're familiar with spiral dynamics, you know that stages of conscious development are vastly between yang and yin. And therefore, because yin is a more inclusive place of surrender, place of acceptance, I believe it's actually where you can have a greater understanding of models of reality. Yang is much more individual, and therefore you can have greater insights into the human psyche and the mind and the ego, but not into the nature of reality. Therefore, integral is immediately suspect. I think it does integrate the prior 7 stages, but any commentary it has about what comes after it, what we call Teal, has to be suspect in that sense. Okay, so if you're familiar, obviously you are, with religion, the vision for the most part is that God came first, and then he created the universe and humanity. And then the scientific viewpoint is that the universe and mankind are the result of pure chance accident, and in particular our planet is in a Goldilocks zone, not too hot, not too cold, and therefore life developed. This is because if you have a lot of planets out there, some of them are going to have life on them. They're going to be in that perfect zone. Nothing special about that, just pure random chance. Integral comes together and says both of these and everything that's happening in reality is co-arising. So neither explanation, the scientific nor the religious spiritual, is full and complete. So I am going to now introduce disintegral. And the idea here is that physical reality and divine awareness are two infinite parallel lines, or two double helix twining around each other, two snakes perhaps. And they are providing two different frameworks for reality, but both are equally, fully true, and a third one, which you'll see when they intersect. If you have enough time, eventually those two parallel lines, or intersecting double helix, will begin to form some kind of connections, and that is where we have what you call the integral theory, where these things get pulled into each other. So once consciousness encounters physical reality, it tries to figure out what is physical reality. That obviously can't happen until, well, theoretically can't happen until you have a complex enough brain where you can have self-awareness, although we don't know. It could be even happening on a more primitive level with other species. Similarly, physical reality is trying to figure out consciousness. So there's this phenomenon which there's no awareness, now there is awareness. What is that? So they're both trying to figure the other one out. An easier model than maybe the double helix or the parallel lines is these two intersecting circles. The green circle, which is pure awareness, divine spirit. And that's sort of the religious viewpoint, and that's what existed maybe before the Big Bang. It's just awareness, not an individual, not even perhaps in specific thoughts. And then there's the pure material, which is unaware, a rock, not being aware that it's a rock. The intersection, which, by the way, coincidentally came out teal, just like coincidentally the shirt. I didn't put the shirt on thinking I was going to do this presentation. That's the intersection. That's the integral is explaining our reality. But this whole chart is what I'm saying is teal. So each of these frameworks is whole and complete. From our reality, the physical is trying to understand the divine is trying to understand the physical. We live, perhaps, it's a theory, at the intersection of these two circles. So we're like Pinocchio, the puppet who comes to life. When we're born, or in early cultures, there was a feeling of unification, either with mother or with Mother Nature. But then, the more control we got, the less we felt unified. We started to build cars and computers and have air conditioning, and suddenly we didn't need God to provide us things. We were providing it, theoretically, for ourselves. And so then we move from that one circle to the other circle in terms of our vision of reality. We're actually in the intersection that Integral is describing. We're trying to figure out where we stop and God begins, or what is material and what's spiritual. Not realizing they're all the same thing. But as a result, when you move from the vision of reality, from the religious spiritual to the scientific, then you don't feel unified. As Jung talked about this, and we've lost the mystery and magic. And what I'm suggesting is that we forgot that our creation was the intercourse of God and material. And whether this was an accident, the creation of reality, or intentional, we'll get to it, but it's not really the central issue because we can't actually know that at this point. But now, if we get hung up with the religious or the scientific origin of reality, or those models, then we're entertaining the mind. And we're attacking the other framework, and so we're entertaining the mind. Now, with Integral, we see it as co-arising, but this can be a little bit confusing and seems like a little bit of a convenience, and still is engaging the mind. It's just engaging the mind in a way of creating harmony instead of disharmony. So disintegration theory, or disintegral theory, we just let it be. This theory allows all three viewpoints to exist, but drops any need for the mind to get involved. You just lay it out there, and you are wherever you are at that time. We're surrendering control. We're not trying to move ourselves into Integral. We're not trying to move ourselves into the scientific or out of the scientific, into the religious spiritual or out of the religious spiritual. We just are wherever we are. We accept others wherever we want to be. Integral has all been about greater inclusion. First it was yourself, then it was the family, then it was the religion, then it was the tribe, then it was all of Gaia, and then it's all of reality, and that's great. But Integral itself is not fully integrating. It integrates the prior 7 stages, but not these other viewpoints, which it's trying to pull together into one unifying theory, not respecting them enough to allow them to be on their own. So if we wish to see God as not us, that's a dualistic frame, then we accept ourselves as the matter which collided with the spirit, those two parallel lines, that pre-existed matter. Or you could say the matter pre-existed it. It doesn't actually matter where your timelines are. But having this framework allows us to avoid the shame, the guilt, and the fear relationship that is typical with God from a religious perspective. So we're not denying the religious perspective, we're just saying, if you look at this model, then it's a way to integrate that more harmoniously. If we encounter scientific types, people who are in orange and spiral, then we see that they're non-spirited, they're non-spiritual. They just see breath as air. They're just the lungs, they're not seeing the magic or the mystery, which is fine. They are theoretically on a trajectory where they're representing a part of a reality that is the divine, that doesn't see that it's divine. It's the purely material framework, which is totally fine and whole and complete in itself. It doesn't need the others. Saying it's partial is to judge it as not equal to an integrating theory. But I'm saying the integrating theory is just part of the whole. So science is not the enemy of religion, and religion is not the enemy of science. They're coexisting. We don't need Integral to make peace with them. There already exist as separate, whole, and complete, total realities. Neither one is diluted. They're just occupying a different spot on the Teal model. So if you meet Chem-Wilber fans, they are operating in the merged area. They're trying to make peace. But they're often disregarding or feeling superior to those who are in the other circles. So they're saying, we're superior because we have integrated. We're superior because we see how it's all co-arising. But that's not holistic, because there's an actual reality that's purely spirit, purely divine, no models, no integration. And it's equally a scientific viewpoint, which is not integrating, not interested in integrating. We don't need it to integrate. It exists as part of that. So reality, according to this model, is in all three places at once, divine, material, and integral. You can't necessarily possess or embody that three, which is what Integral is trying to do. But its Integral is just occupying the center, not the left or the right side. Therefore, it only has the illusion of being all. You can't be embodying all of it unless you truly are accepting that viewpoint as the total viewpoint. The infinites, the multiplicity of infinites, accepting that it is in fact infinite, there are no limits to it. It is true, completely. Oh, and by the way, this is also true completely. That's paradox. Integral is not really embracing paradox. Paradox is beyond the mind, it's beyond control. So disintegral is actually integral. Disintegral is showing the disunified nature of reality. Any viewpoint that displaces the prior viewpoint by seeing its limits gets in your color, which is why I claim the teal. So integral does see our reality, the intersection of these two infinite universes, but the reality of the religious and spiritual, the green side, and that of the objective scientist, the blue side, is also full and complete. This won't make sense to the mind. I know I'm going to get some criticism from people saying integral is already saying this, but it's not actually saying this. Those models are absolutely true. Not just when you're in them, but they're absolutely true. And, by the way, integral is also absolutely true. So by seeing this model of the two circles with the intersecting zone, we're actually integrating. So what's the lesson here? How do we apply this, even if you agree or disagree? You may have noticed that Kent Wilber and the followers often can come across as arrogant. And I think the question I often ask them is it better to be right or to be happy? They're so busy defending that young perspective that they have figured it all out, that they have control, that they become very touchy and argumentative and confrontational. But with this model, we're accepting all positions that are, and saying that they're not partial. They're all paradoxically complete. And thus, by truly embracing paradox, what integral is claiming to do, we're surrendering control. You can't say you're embracing paradox and still try to have control. Paradox, by definition, cannot be controlled. It is beyond the mind. So what are the moral implications? So in Vipassana, I came up with this idea that God made a stone too heavy for him to lift. It's not my idea, but it came to mind. And so that's the universe. The dream, Maya, the matrix, is so real that God can't even escape it for the most part. And this leads to the search for enlightenment. So what we do, if we accept this two-circle model, we can seek awakening, but we accept that delusion is equally valid. We're guided by our heart and destiny, and we're forever curious. We place events, whatever's happening to us, and our perspective in one of these three zones, the same as others. But remember that each zone is valid, and we're only in one zone. The two other zones exist. We cannot be in all three at once, and this is therefore humbling. Humility and lack of control is embraced. We're humble to the face. We're humble in the face of seeking divine inspiration and unification. We're humble in the face of scientific discovery, and we're humble when we're seeing the integral as the co-rising of everything. We're humble in all those zones. That's how we know we're truly embodying Teal. Integral is yang and therefore forceful, but not surrender. Now, as you can see, the theory of rushed, my family life is calling me back. This is made possible by leaving integral to raise a family. It became more about humility and serving. There's no time for nonsense. I only seek what works, not what feels good or what enhances my ego. A lot of child raising is a diminution of ego if you're doing it the right way. And they're following the heart rather than the will. So it's the path of surrender. Hope that makes sense. Feel free to reach out if you want more explanation, though I'm hoping to forget that I ever made this video, and hopefully this is the last time I have to make it. Thank you.